My name is Aaron. I moved into Building 49 in late March 2018. It was cheap, quiet, and close enough to the hospital where I worked night shifts. The kind of place where nothing ever really happens. The best kind of place, if you're tired enough. The first week was uneventful. I unpacked, met a few neighbors, and learned the usual small annoyances of the building. Thin walls, a flickering hallway light, and the smell of fried onions that lingered every evening around 7 p.m. But on the 12th day, the smell changed. It wasn't food anymore. It was sweet, like rotting fruit, heavy and warm, as if it came from something that had been alive. At first, I thought maybe a mouse had died in the vents. It wouldn't be the first time. But the smell didn't come from the vents. It came from next door. Apartment 3B. 3B belonged to a man named Mr. Harris. He was in his late 40s, maybe early 50s. Always wore a brown cardigan and slippers, even when he took out the trash. I'd only spoken to him twice. Once when he borrowed my screwdriver set, and once when he thanked me by leaving a pie at my door that tasted faintly of dust. He was quiet, polite, unremarkable. So when the smell started seeping through the shared wall between our kitchens, I thought it was just a plumbing issue. I texted the building manager. He said Harris was out of town visiting his sister, and that he'd look into it when Harris returned. That was 3 days before the flies appeared. They came in waves, black dots clustering around the ceiling light. I tried everything, spray, candles, even sealing the cracks under the door. But every morning there were more. One night, around 2 a.m., I woke up to a faint tapping sound. At first, I thought it was the radiator. Then I realized it was coming from behind the kitchen wall. A slow, deliberate rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. Followed by something like a whimper. I froze. The sound lasted about 20 seconds, then silence. When I pressed my ear to the wall, I could have sworn I heard breathing. The next morning I went to check on 3B. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again, harder. Then I noticed something. The smell was stronger at the bottom of the door, like something thick and spoiled was leaking through the cracks in the wood. I called the building manager again. No answer. When I tried the doorknob, it turned. The door creaked open 2 inches before something inside stopped it. Maybe a chain lock. Enough space for me to smell what was inside. It hit like a wall, the stench of decay, but not just that. There was another note in it, something sickly sweet, like burnt sugar and metal. That's when I heard it. From somewhere deep in the apartment, a dragging sound, something heavy moving slowly across the floor. I slammed the door shut. I stood in the hallway for what felt like forever, trying to convince myself I'd imagined it. But when I turned to leave, I saw a faint trail. Something dark and sticky, seeping under Harris's door and onto the linoleum. Blood. Or something that looked a lot like it. I called the police. They arrived 20 minutes later. By then, the hallway smelled like a morgue. When they broke down the door, I stayed behind the officers. Even so, I wish I hadn't gone inside. The apartment was dim, curtains drawn, air thick. Every surface was covered in a film of moisture, like condensation from inside a closed jar. The source of the smell was obvious the moment we stepped in. There were bags, dozens of them, lined up against the kitchen wall. Black trash bags, sealed with duct tape. One of the officers cut one open. The sound it made, the wet tearing, I can still hear it. Inside were pieces of meat, raw, grayish-red, unrecognizable. The officer said, probably animal. But the look on his face said otherwise. They searched the apartment for Harris, but he wasn't there. No sign of him. Just those bags. And something else. In the corner of the living room was a large freezer, the industrial kind, like the ones used in butcher shops. It was padlocked. When they broke it open, the power had already been cut, so it was warm inside. The stench that came out was unbearable. Inside was a single object, a chair, wooden, old, and strapped to it. Handcuffs bolted into the armrests. The walls around the freezer had scratches, not claw marks, fingernails. Forensics came the next day. The official report said, biological waste of undetermined origin. But one of the younger officers pulled me aside later. He said, "They found human teeth in one of the bags." That night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound felt amplified. The hum of the fridge, the ticking of the clock, the faint echo of the building's plumbing. At some point after 3 a.m., I heard it again. The tapping, tap, 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 but this time it came from my side of the wall. I moved out the next morning. Didn't even pack most of my things. The building manager didn't seem surprised when I told him. He just nodded and said quietly, "You're not the first one." When I asked what he meant, he told me that Harris's sister had come by the day before, said her brother had been missing for months, which means whoever I'd seen in that apartment, the man in the cardigan, the one who'd borrowed my screwdriver, wasn't Harris. A week later, I got a call from the police. They said the case was still open, but that the DNA from the biological material matched at least 3 missing persons from the area. They asked if I could come in to answer a few more questions. I went. They showed me a photo, taken from a surveillance camera outside the building, the night before the discovery. It showed a man leaving 3B carrying a black bag. The photo was grainy, but I recognized something immediately. The cardigan. The same brown cardigan Harris always wore. Only, the man in the photo looked younger. His face was pale, stretched, like wax left in the sun. And his hands, they were wrapped in something dark, almost like tape. I haven't gone back to that neighborhood since. Sometimes, when I walk past old apartment buildings, I catch a faint whiff of that same smell. Sweet, heavy, wrong. Once, last month, I got a letter. No return address. Inside was a single item. A piece of duct tape, folded neatly in half. It smelled like burnt sugar. There's one more thing. When I left the building, I remember passing the row of mailboxes. I glanced at them one last time. Apartment 3B. The label was still there. Harris. But beneath it, scratched faintly into the metal, was another name. Aaron.
My name is Daniel Reeves. In December of 2020, I moved into apartment 4A of the Linton Building, a crumbling 6-story complex on the edge of the city. It wasn't much, but I needed quiet. After the divorce, after losing the house, I wanted somewhere small, predictable, silent. The kind of silence that feels like a reset. I got 3 days of it. On the 4th night, around 11:47 p.m., I heard footsteps. Slow, heavy ones, coming from the apartment directly above mine. I remember glancing at the clock because I'd just turned off the TV. At first it was normal. People walk around. Maybe someone moved in upstairs. But the steps kept going, back and forth, from one side of the ceiling to the other. The same pattern, step, 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 pause, then again. It went on for almost half an hour. The next morning I asked the building manager if the unit above mine, 5A, had new tenants. He looked up from his paperwork and frowned. "There's no one in 5A, he said. "It's been vacant since, last summer, I think. Pipes burst, floors still warped." I laughed, assuming he was mistaken. But that night, right on cue, the footsteps returned. This time I recorded them. I placed my phone on the nightstand, hit record, and waited. Step, step, step. A short drag, like something being pulled across the floor. Then silence. I played it back in the morning. You could clearly hear the footsteps. Rhythmic, deliberate. When I played the clip for the manager, he went pale. Said it wasn't possible. The entire top floor was locked up for maintenance, and he had the only key. I asked if I could go up there with him. He refused. Said the ceiling beams were unstable. By the following week, the noise had changed. It wasn't just walking anymore. Sometimes I'd hear furniture scrape, or what sounded like marbles rolling across the floor. Tiny, hard impacts that came in bursts. Other nights, it was a faint dragging sound, like fabric being pulled along wood. It always happened between 11:45 and 12:15. Never earlier, never later. It started to feel intentional. One Friday night, I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I went upstairs myself. The hallway lights on the 5th floor flickered weakly, buzzing. The whole corridor smelled of dust and stagnant water. When I reached 5A, the door was locked, but not properly. The latch was slightly off, like it had been forced before. I pressed my ear against it. Nothing. No footsteps. No sound at all. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was on the other side of that door, standing perfectly still, listening to me breathe. Back in my apartment, I left the TV on for noise. The moment I turned off the lights, the footsteps returned, directly above the bed. They moved slower this time, like whoever, whatever, and it was aware of me. Step, 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 stop. Then, a long, deliberate knock. Once, right above my head. The next morning, I went to the manager again. He looked exhausted. I wasn't the first tenant to complain, he said. 2 years ago, a woman had lived in 4A, my unit. She'd called the office dozens of times about the same noise. Said she couldn't sleep because the man upstairs keeps pacing all night. When the maintenance team finally went up to check, they found 5A empty and the bathtub filled halfway with rainwater. No leaks, no footprints, no sign anyone had been inside. The woman moved out the next week. After hearing that, I stopped sleeping altogether. I'd lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the sound. Some nights it came earlier, like it was adapting to me. I started to notice faint cracks forming in the plaster above my bed, hairline at first, spreading outward in thin, web-like lines. One morning, I woke to find dust on my pillow, tiny bits of plaster, as if something had scraped the other side. That was when I called the police. 2 officers came by that evening. I played them the recording, showed them the cracks. They went upstairs to check 5A. The door was locked. No signs of tampering. One of them climbed through the window from the fire escape. He was gone for maybe 5 minutes. When he came back, he looked unsettled. Said the place was empty, completely stripped. But there were wet footprints leading from the bathroom to the center of the room. Just one set. Bare feet. That night, the sound changed again. I woke at 12:03 a.m. to something scratching above the ceiling, slow, deep, irregular, like fingernails dragging over wood. Then came the creak. A long, slow groan, as if weight was pressing down on the beam directly over my bed. Then, the whisper. I swear I heard it. A single word, low and distorted through the plaster. Down. I moved my mattress to the living room floor. Didn't matter. The footsteps followed. Different position, same rhythm, always right above me. I even tried staying at a motel 2 nights. No noise there. But when I returned to 4A, even before I'd unpacked, the first sound I heard as I locked the door behind me was that same steady pace upstairs, like it had been waiting. By January, I'd started noticing other things. The light in my bathroom flickered every night at 11:45. The temperature dropped suddenly, like someone had opened a freezer. And sometimes, when I brushed my teeth, condensation would appear on the mirror, forming faint shapes, almost like handprints from the other side. I stopped turning on the lights. Didn't matter. The steps came anyway. One night, during a thunderstorm, I decided to end it. I took a broom handle and hit the ceiling as hard as I could. "Stop!" I shouted. "Stop walking!" The noise stopped instantly. Silence. Then, 3 slow knocks in reply, each one shaking the ceiling dust loose. I don't remember falling asleep, but when I woke up, the broom handle was gone. The next day, I ran into the maintenance guy in the hall. He asked if I'd been upstairs the night before. I told him no. Why? He said someone had moved a heavy piece of furniture in 5A. Said there were drag marks across the floor, like something big had been shifted right above my bedroom. But 5A was still padlocked. And when he'd gone to open it that morning, the padlock was warm to the touch, almost hot. That night was the last time I heard the footsteps. It started at the usual time, 11:47, but instead of pacing, it was faster, chaotic, back and forth, frantic. Then came a crack, like wood splitting. Dust fell from the ceiling, stinging my eyes. And then, silence. the kind that hums, the kind that feels alive. I waited for the next sound. None came, until something dropped from the ceiling, a small object that hit the floor beside me. It was a key. Old, brass, with a faded tag, 5A. I don't remember unlocking the door. I just remember standing inside that dark apartment, rain leaking through the broken ceiling, the air cold and heavy. In the corner stood a single chair, facing the window. The floor beneath it warped, black with water damage. And on the wall above the chair, faint, almost erased, were the outlines of 2 footprints, pressed upward into the ceiling, as if someone had been standing below the floorboards, reaching. I moved out 2 days later. Didn't ask for my deposit back. A few weeks later, I got a call from the building manager. He said the roof had finally caved in above 5A during the next storm. When the crew went up to repair it, they found a pair of shoes embedded in the rotted ceiling joists, upside down. No body, no record of who they belonged to. He asked if I wanted the recording I'd made back, since it was still saved in their case file. I said no. But sometimes when I play music late at night, I swear I can hear it faintly under the sound. Step, step, step. Pause. Then the silence again.
My name's Daniel Richardson. I moved into the Riverview Apartments on June 29, 2020, right after my divorce. The place was old but quiet, just what I needed. Most of the tenants were elderly or kept to themselves. Apartment 2B faced the alley. The only weird thing was the door to the basement, right across the hallway from me. It was locked, heavy, with peeling gray paint and a rusted maintenance-only sign. The landlord, Mr. Keller, said nobody used it. Boiler's down there, that's all. We sealed it years ago. Don't worry about it. I didn't. At least not until the sound started. Entry 1, July 2nd, 11:47 p.m. I was unpacking when I heard a bang. Not loud, more like wood hitting concrete. Then another. Then a dragging sound, slow and rhythmic. It came from the hallway. I opened the door. Nothing. Just that basement door, trembling slightly as if something had brushed against it from the inside. The air felt heavier there, damp, metallic, like rainwater trapped underground. I waited. Silence. I went back inside. 5 minutes later, bang, drag, bang, drag. I recorded it on my phone, but the mic only picked up static. Entry 2, July 3rd, 2:14 a.m. The noises came again, louder. I pressed my ear against the door. I could swear I heard breathing. I knocked. It stopped instantly. Then, faintly, 3 knocks back, slow, deliberate. I froze. My throat went dry. No one else was in the building that night. I checked the mailboxes earlier. Every tenant above me was gone for the holiday weekend. I texted Mr. Keller. He replied in the morning. Told you. Nobody uses that basement. Pipes expand when it's humid. Go back to sleep. But I'd lived in old buildings before. Pipes don't knock back. Entry 3, July 5th, 10:22 p.m. I tried to ignore it. Headphones, music, fan on full blast. Didn't matter. Around 10 p.m., the light in the hallway began to flicker. I stepped out to check, and right then, the basement door handle moved. Just a twitch, like someone testing it from the other side. I stood perfectly still. The bulb above me buzzed. Then it went out. In that instant of darkness, I heard footsteps running up the stairs from behind the basement door. Fast, heavy, human. But they stopped right at the top. When the light came back, the door was still. Except for one new detail. The keyhole, sealed before, now had a faint red smear around it, like someone had tried to push something wet through it. Entry 4, July 7th, 1:03. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined the sound of footsteps right under me. I decided to check during the day. The next morning, I asked Keller for the basement key. He went pale. "There is no key," he said. "That lock's welded shut. Don't mess with it." I knew he was lying. His hands were shaking. That night, the banging returned. Softer this time, but constant, like a heartbeat echoing through metal. I started keeping notes. Entry 5, July 9th, 9:17 p.m. The hallway smelled different, earthy, like wet soil, and something faintly sweet, like old fruit. I crouched near the bottom of the door. There was a thin line of moisture seeping out from under it. When I touched it, it felt cold, but sticky. I called maintenance. They came 2 days later, opened the outer latch to inspect the boiler through a small vent panel. They lasted maybe 3 minutes. One of them, a big guy named Luis, came back up trembling, mumbling something in Spanish about ojos en la pared, eyes in the wall. The next day, the basement door was padlocked again. Brand new lock, no explanation. Entry 6, July 11th, 12:40 a.m. The sounds had changed, no more banging. Just a soft scraping, like fingernails over wood. And a whisper, barely audible, but it was my name. Daniel. I froze. My phone slipped from my hand. The voice was directly behind the door, low, calm, familiar. It sounded like my ex-wife, Lisa. But Lisa was dead. She died in a car crash in April. I told myself it was stress, sleep deprivation, grief. Except, I never told anyone in this building about her. Entry 7, July 12th, 3:16 a.m. Something changed. I woke up to vibration, the whole floor trembling. The lights went out. I grabbed a flashlight and opened my door. The basement door was wide open, a black void. No sound, no smell, just a hole swallowing the hallway. I called out. Nothing. I pointed the flashlight inside. Stairs descending into pitch black, slick with something wet. Then, at the bottom, movement. A shape. Pale. Human-sized. Crawling upward on all fours, its joints bending wrong. I slammed my door and locked it. The footsteps reached my threshold but didn't enter. Instead, they stopped. Then, 3 slow knocks, and silence. Entry 8, July 13th, 8:05 p.m. Police came after I called 911. They checked the basement, found nothing but water damage. Said the boiler had burst months ago. They didn't find the new padlock or the wet footprints I told them about. They wrote it off as stress-induced hallucination. That night, I packed my bags. As I was leaving, I noticed something carved into the inside of my apartment door. Faint letters scratched deep into the wood. Don't let it in again. I moved out the next morning. Entry 9, July 14th, 9:32 p.m. I'm staying at a motel now. But last night I woke up to banging again. Not from the hallway, from the closet. When I opened it, there was nothing. Just the faint smell of earth. And on the inside of the closet door, a small gray maintenance sign, flaking paint and all. The same as before. I don't remember packing that. File status, unresolved. Last known activity. Subject vacated Riverview Apartments on July 14th, 2020. Subsequent tenants reported ongoing maintenance issues, including flickering lights and unexplained odors in lower units. Note, maintenance logs for the property list no accessible basement structure beneath 421 West 39th St. The last recorded blueprint, dated 1952, shows the basement sealed and filled with concrete following an accident during renovation. Status, case remains open.